So maybe good morning everyone once again, and we start with today's class. But as usual, let me just recap what we have done till now. So we started with what is marketing. We tried understanding what is marketing, and we understood that marketing is understanding the needs of the consumer and then meeting those needs profitably. And how do we meet those needs? By the right product, right pricing, right place, and right promotion. But it was also important to understand the journey of marketing, how marketing has evolved through different times. We understood that. Then we understood the macro and the micro environment in which marketing works. I shared with you videos on rural marketing and services marketing. And then we understood segmentation, targeting, and positioning, which is so important before we proceed anything about marketing. And then we thought maybe we are ready to launch our product and do the pricing, etc. But hello, when we kept saying meeting the needs of the customer, understanding the needs of the customer, needs, how do you understand the need? And that's where we touch consumer behavior a little. We try to understand perception, learning, and motivation. So what we did in the last two classes was perception, where we realized that perception is what you and I think is reality. And today, what we are going to do is learning. Learning, but why do we need to do learning? Hey, you and I, we need to be taught all the time. We think we are really, really brilliant and intelligent, but the reality is that all of us need to be taught. Thank God somebody taught me how to use the ATM when it was first launched. Thank God the banks they have a demo on their websites where they teach us how to do net banking, and I don't know how many of you have seen that. Thank God they're telling us how to do that. Thank God the government in the past 1 year took so many measures to teach us the importance of hygiene, of washing our hands, of wearing a mask. We all need to learn. And as a marketing person, you should never, ever shy away from teaching your consumer. It is your duty to ensure that your consumer learns. But this is easier said than done. Because somebody may want to teach us, just like I'm trying to teach you, but you may not want to learn. So are there any theories which tell us that how do we learn? How can we ensure that learning happens in a manner that our consumers learn about our product, brand, and service? What should we do? Yes, of course, there are many theories, but we will only deal with two. But before that, what is learning? So the definition says that learning is a process by which individuals, that is you and I as consumers, we acquire the purchase and consumption knowledge and experience, and we apply this to our behavior, right? So yes, I acquired the knowledge of how to do net banking, and then I apply it to my behavior. I acquired the knowledge of how to use my debit or credit card, and I apply it to my behavior. I gathered the knowledge of the importance of some app, whatever app, maybe Arogya Setu, and then I apply it. So somebody taught me that, hey, you know, in Arogya Setu, you can come to know if you have come near any infected person, COVID positive person, and so then I apply it to my future related behavior. Thank God learning was there in the past 1 or 1.5 years. Actually 1 year, March was when in India we started the lockdown, etc. Thank God learning was there in the past 1 year, because the government or the various healthcare workers or the health professionals or other people could teach us how to take care of ourselves. Learning is so important in every phase of life. And as I always say, marketing is life. So how can learning not be important for you and me if we aspire to become the marketers of tomorrow. So let us understand what are the various learning theories. As I said, for your level, I would only be dealing with two. The first one, classical conditioning. So I don't know how many of you are aware of this theory. Okay. But let me just tell you what classical conditioning theory is about. So this was done by a scientist called Pavlov quite a few years back. And what was the experiment? So he did an experiment, and the experiment was that there was a dog, there was a bell, and there was meat paste. So he used to ring the bell, give the meat to the dog, and the dog used to jump, or there used to be saliva, you know, when we are hungry or when we see something which we like, the way we behave. So dog, bell, meat. Dog, bell, meat. Ring the bell, give the meat, there is saliva. Ring the bell, give the meat, saliva. Ring the bell, give the meat, saliva. Ring the bell, give the meat, saliva. He did this for a number of times till finally he rang the bell. There was no meat, but there was saliva. The dog had started associating the bell with the meat. So now, even when the meat was not there, the dog associated that with the meat. So you would say, hey, why are we talking about this? I mean, in the sense that how does this apply to marketing? Of course it applies to marketing, but to help you understand this theory better, maybe let me show you a little video that classical conditioning is not just for dogs, it's for us, the human beings. So I'll share my video with you. Okay, yeah.
Hey, Psych 101 class. I'm David, and I'm going to be testing Pavlov's theory of classical conditioning on my roommate Brian. The conditioned stimulus will be the sound effect. That was easy. And then I'm going to shoot him with this airsoft gun. He will soon learn the relationship between the sound effect and the shot before it gets too hurt. That was easy. That was easy. Ah! That was easy. Look. That was easy. That was easy. All right, guys, looks like Pavlov's theory worked.
Down with my soul, straight down the wall for my fingers, holding on to the step, and I know all my chuckles are hiding in your trigger. Take your eyes off the road, shoot your mouth, you know you're aiming. Don't forget to pick up what you saw, talking trash to the cop, but you're bound to.
So, did you understand? So what is classical conditioning? It says that when a behavior is repeated again and again, then the person gets associated, tries to associate things with it. So for example, while in the experiment, the dog associated the ringing of the bell with the meat. In the video that I showed you, the person, every time there was this noise now, he associated that he's again going to be hurt by his friend. So even though when finally his friend did not even hurt him, he still reacted and he was like, okay, he's again going to hit me. But again, how do we marketing people use it? So let me show you this example. I will not get into this. So what does thumbs up do? Thumbs up, taste the thunder. Thumbs up. So first it was Salman Khan. I don't know, maybe it's still Salman Khan, but just a brand ambassador. So Salman Khan, and he said, thumbs up, taste the thunder. Salman Khan, thumbs up or taste the thunder, thumbs Khan, taste the thunder, thumbs up. Finally, even if you remove Salman Khan, it is taste the thunder, thumbs up. Similarly, when Akshay Kumar came, so what is a brand ambassador doing? The brand ambassador is doing the work of that bell, or brand ambassador is doing the work of that noise which the person made in the video, which said, this was easy. This is what the brand ambassador does. The brand ambassador helps us to associate the tagline with the product. And thank God, I mean, in the sense that that's why brand ambassadors are replaceable. Can you imagine if brand ambassadors were not replaceable? So finally, so we may have Salman Khan or we may have Akshay Kumar, but at the end, it is what is important is taste the thunder irrespective of who's jumping. This may be Salman Khan, this may be Akshay Kumar, this may be some other person. What becomes important is taste the thunder, thumbs up. Okay? So what is it that, so people, for us marketing people, you know, we marketing people, because marketing is live, we gather knowledge from wherever we can. So these theories were not developed for marketing. These theories were developed for psychology and so on. But wherever what is useful to us, wherever we can learn, we do not hesitate to learn. If you want to be a good marketing person, please do not shy away from learning from any sector, any branch. Well, the other things that we learned from classical conditioning was, so how did the people learn? So how did most probably the dog learn, or how did that friend learn, or how did we learn? It was by repetition. It was not just once that suddenly the bell ringing happened and there was meat and there was saliva. No, it was repeated a number of times, and that's how the dog learned. How did that fellow student learn in the video? In fact, the first time he looked at him, hey, what are you doing? Right? It was repetition. He had to do it a number of times before finally he reacted to that noise. So what is the marketing implication? That there needs to be a repetition. And how true. Had our parents just told us once that, beta, please study, otherwise you will fail, we would have all failed. Thank God they kept repeating it and telling us all the time, beta, please study, beta, please pay attention, just like I'm doing the same thing now, because that's how we learn. We learn by repetition. And that's why the marketing people or the marketing world, it repeats the message to us time and again in different ways. That's how the government made us learn about how to take care of ourselves, by repeating the message in different ways, sometimes on media, sometimes on our phone. So even today, if you call, when you make the first call of the day, there is a message which comes which tells you about the vaccine. So the message needs to be repeated. And maybe in one of the recent times, one of the ads which just came. So, yeah. So when Vodafone and Idea, when Vodafone and Idea, they joined hands recently, as a consumer, I didn't know. I mean, I had to be told. And therefore, they came up with these various ads. And not just once. It wasn't that it was just announced once and we were all supposed to know. If you remember, at that point of time, this ad was happening everywhere. And then also continuously later, we've been seeing this ad. So at the same time, I mean, they made another ad which went something like this. So one of the things that we learn is, as I said, that our consumers learn by repetition. So please do not shy away from helping them learn by repeating the message. And which doesn't mean that it's the same thing which may be repeated. You may have different ads. However, what is important is that they form a perception, and in order to form the perception, the ad should be selected. So when we made this ad, I mean, somewhere we selected it, and that's how we started then organizing it in our thoughts. And this message was repeated on different platforms. While this was one thing that we learned, the second thing that we learned from the experiment is, so what Pavlov did was that he changed the sound of the bell. So most probably instead of ding ding, it went ding dong. However, the response was the same. So what do we learn? We learn that we have this habit of generalizing things. And don't we have it, I mean, in the sense, so you hear, oh, people from North India, they are like this. We generalize. People from South India, they are like this. People from Western part of India, they are like this. Or Eastern part of India, they are like this. We generalize. This is something which you and I as human beings, we feel very comfortable in doing. I mean, we know only so much, and based on that so much, we have a derivation which is like this much. We just love generalizing things. Oh yes, city girls are like this, village girls are like this, city boys are like this, village boys are like this, Pune is like this, Delhi is like this, Chennai is like this. And we may have never gone there. We may have never, ever interacted with those people, but we generalize based on that little knowledge that we have. Well, so what do we marketing people do? Do we utilize it? Of course we do. How do we utilize it? So for example, Gillette. Now Gillette is known for men's cosmetics, men's shaving products, etc. And therefore it's very easy for Gillette to just launch the men's products under its name. Right? Because people generalize, oh, Gillette must be for men. Gillette must be for men, and so on. Similarly, Dettol. What did Dettol do? When COVID hit India, it was very easy for Dettol to launch the hand sanitizers or other products related to take care of our health because we generalized. Dettol, it is an antiseptic. We generalize, and therefore it was easy for them to launch a product as compared to maybe a company called XYZ who would suddenly come up and say, you know what, we make the best sanitizer. I would be like, really? But who are you? Compared to if Dettol said, you know what, we have the sanitizer for you, we're like, oh, yeah. Why? Because we just generalize. Even for Symbiosis, for that matter, or Colgate. So it is associated with oral products. So whether it's a tooth powder or a toothpaste or a mouthwash or a toothbrush, it's very easy for them to launch these products, and very easy for them to convince us, and we learn faster. Similarly for Symbiosis, I mean, Symbiosis Center for Management Studies, Symbiosis Institute of Design, Symbiosis Institute of Business Management, Symbiosis Institute of Operations Management, so on and so forth. Why? Because it's very easy for a student to just hear Symbiosis, oh, Symbiosis brand, wow, and generalize that, yes, all the institutes are good. So a lot of companies use this because you and I as consumers, we tend to generalize. However, my problem arises that when people misuse generalization. And how do they misuse generalization? So let me give you a hypothetical example. So here was this maid who used to work in a house, and she used to see her the lady of the house using a certain cosmetic. So XYZ cosmetic. Now she also wanted to use this XYZ cosmetic. So what did the maid do? She went to her grocer. Now please understand, the grocer she goes to will be different from the grocer that means probably the lady of the house goes to where she's working. She went to the grocer and she said, you know what, I also want that XYZ cosmetic. The grocer gave her that XYZ cosmetic. However, the X was small, right? I mean, most probably the packing was the same. The X was small, and instead of Z written as Z, the Z also was written in a funny manner. What did he give? He gave a duplicate product. And that poor lady had no idea that she's not buying an authentic product. Why? Because she generalized. Because the packing was the same. It was the same red or the pink or the yellow color. She just saw that and she said, oh yeah, now I'm also using the same product which that female uses. Because someone misused our habit of generalization to sell a fake product. So is there a way out? Of course there is a way out, and the way out is positioning. Your stimuli or your message should be so clear and so different that your consumers know very well that whatever else is fake. We don't have any branches when we write that. What does it mean? We are telling them, you know what, we are different. How do you tell your consumer that he should only buy genuine products is becoming extremely important in the times of today, because while generalization is a great habit, is a great tool for us marketing people, a tool is a tool. It can be used and it can be misused. And just like a hammer is a hammer, it can be used for good work, it can be misused for bad work. So very important. And that's where positioning comes into the picture, where you create an image that is so powerful, which is so unique that a consumer knows when he's being duped. Okay? While this was one theory, which is a classical conditioning theory, there's another theory. Now, what is that theory? That's called instrumental conditioning or operant theory. So in some books, you will find instrumental conditioning, in some operant. But what was that? So here was another experiment which was done by a scientist by the name of Skinner. And what did he do? So the birds were kept in a cage, and there were certain levers in that cage. And if the bird pressed a particular lever, the gate opened and the bird could get out. Now, what did the bird do? I mean, the birds, after trying different levers, they learned that if you press this particular lever, promptly the gate opens and they get out. So how did the bird learn? The bird learned by doing something, right? Again, you will say, hey, how is this relevant to us? So maybe let me share with you another video which tells us that how is it relevant for us.
What's this cartoon called again?
Oshikuru Demon Samurai.
It's not a cartoon, it's anime.
Anime. You know, I knew a girl in high school named Anime. Anime Fletcher. She was born with one nostril. Then she had this bad nose job and basically wound up with 3.
You're here a lot now.
Oh, am I talking too much? I'm sorry. Zip.
Thank you. Chocolate?
Yes, please. Oh, hey, Kim. Yeah. You know what? Hold on. Let me take this in the hall. You'll never guess who the actual principal is.
Okay. I know what you're doing.
Really?
Yes. You're using chocolates as positive reinforcement for what you consider correct behavior.
Very good. Chocolate?
Sheldon, you can't train my girlfriend like a lab rat.
Actually, it turns out I can.
Well, you shouldn't.
There's just no pleasing you, is there, Leonard? You weren't happy with my previous approach to dealing with her, so I decided to employ operant conditioning techniques, building on the works of Thorndike and B.F. Skinner. Yet by this time next week, I believe I can have her jumping out of a pool, balancing a beach ball on her nose.
No, this has to stop now.
I'm not suggesting we really make her jump out of a pool. I thought the bazinga was implied. I'm just tweaking her personality, just sanding off the rough edges, if you will.
No, you're not sanding Penny.
Are you saying that I am forbidden from applying a harmless, scientifically valid protocol that will make our lives better?
Yes, you're forbidden.
Bad, Leonard.
Okay, so coming back, what did we learn from this theory? How did the bird learn that which liver allows, so the bird learned by practice. So they learned that this liver allows us to get out and the other livers do not allow us to get out. In short, what we learn, we the marketing people, what we learn from this theory is positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. Now, what is positive reinforcement? So positive reinforcement is that when you compliment or you assure your consumer that what he or she has done is correct. So every time when I take a particular airline and I get some points, what is happening? It's a positive reinforcement. Okay, hey Adya, you've taken the right decision. We are happy to have you, and therefore some points to you. Or every time when I go to a certain shop and I buy something from that shop, some points are added to my account, which I can redeem later. Again, what is that? That's a positive behavior they are showing me. They're doing a positive reinforcement. Just like what Sheldon was doing with Penny when every time she heard him and he gave her a chocolate. So it was a positive reinforcement saying that, thank you for visiting our store and buying from here. And here are some points for you, which you can redeem later. At one point, some years, I don't know whether this is still there in Pizza Hut or not. I haven't been there for quite some time. There was a time when, they used to say, if you liked being here, then while going out, just ring the bell. And it was, what is it? Again, a positive reinforcement. Or when you get coupons, what is it? It's a positive reinforcement, which is encouraging you to repeat this behavior. So positive reinforcement is used by marketing people to tell the consumer, hey, the decision you've taken is the right decision, and we would like you to repeat this behavior. What is negative reinforcement? Well, negative reinforcement is not a punishment, but negative reinforcement is highlighting the negative aspect of something so that we hope and pray that our consumer does not repeat that behavior. So yesterday, I showed you perceptual defense, and I said the only people who most probably read that message on the cigarette pack are the non-smokers, and they never quit smoking. However, nobody asked me, but there has to be a way out. The way out is negative reinforcement. How do we stop people from smoking? And therefore, we try to highlight the negative aspects of smoking, hoping and praying that people do not repeat this behavior. So let me show you 2 ads which hopefully will help you understand negative reinforcement.
If this is how your child feels after losing you for a minute, just imagine if they lost you for life.
So while this is one ad, and we'll talk about it later, the other one.
Quickly into the car. I hope when I get into the should I give her a call and let them know you'll be late? No, it's fine. See you soon.
What is the angry Daddy?
I'm sorry, darling. I'm not really angry. We're just in a hurry to pick up Sam.
Is Daddy waiting for us?
Yes, he is.
Where are we going?
Just a different way, darling. Let's be quicker.
Are you already there yet?
Yes, we are.
Oh, Scotty.
So another, as I said, what we are trying, negative reinforcement is not a punishment, but negative reinforcement is when we try to highlight the negative behavior and we hope and pray that people do not repeat it. So for example, in the first ad, maybe you're too young to, not maybe, you are too young to understand the first ad, but once children come in our lives, then our life is all about kids. Our life starts with kids and ends with kid, and that was such a powerful message for people who have children in their 30s or 40s, that if this is how your child feels when he can't find you for a minute, imagine what he would feel when you're not there. Quit smoking. Very powerful. And the second one, I don't think I need to explain again what happens if you do not maintain your speed or if you drive very fast. So the positive and negative reinforcement. Another ad in print media which uses negative reinforcement to help people drive slow is, this one. Don't talk while she drives. So the first one we learned was classical conditioning, and the second theory that we learned was operant or instrumental conditioning. While the concepts from the first theory are repetition and generalization, at the same time positioning or unique positioning for yourself, the concepts that we learned from the second theory are positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. I'm still not clear how the consumer learns, because as a human being, I'm subjected to so many stimuli during the day. Do I remember everything? No, I don't. No human being remembers everything. So then how do I ensure that my consumer, who's most probably watching so many communications, so many products every day, so many different schemes, how will he remember my particular product, brand, or service? So yes, you use classical conditioning and you use instrumental conditioning, but we also need to understand how our brain works. How do we remember things? So we become a doctor also from moving from psychologist. Well, how it happens is that whenever we see something, and I'm explaining in absolutely simple language, something which will make sense to all of us. Whenever I see something, it immediately see something, hear something, feel something, whatever, it immediately goes in our short-term memory. Where if I do not repeat it, then it gets lost. That is why we tell you that after every class, revise. Why? Because right now it is going in your short-term memory. And if it is not repeated, then the short-term memory says, hey, you are not worth keeping, nice knowing you, get lost, right? If you want it to stay there, then it has to go to the long-term memory. But how will it go in the long-term memory? Only by revising, by repeating, by positive or negative reinforcement. So for example, I may not remember what I did most probably yesterday or day before yesterday, every detail, but there are some incidents of my childhood which I still remember. I remember them so well that, it is like it's happening in front of me and I can see it in color, not even in black and white. Why? Because I have remembered those incidents so often that they have become a part of my long-term memory. Marketing implication, your product, brand, or service should be a part of the long-term memory of your consumer. Because if it's in the short-term memory, you've lost it, right? It has to be in the long-term memory of the consumer. So please help him revise by repeating. Please assure him that he has taken a right decision. Only then will it go in the long-term memory. But even that is not enough. I don't know whether it has happened with you or not, or maybe it's happening with me with age, I don't know. But sometimes, I'm talking or I go to a store and I'm like, that? Yeah, but give me a time. I'll recall it. I can't remember it. You know that you know something, but you can't remember it at that moment. So it's not just important that it goes in the long-term memory. It's important that it is there and you can recall it, retrieve it at the right time, right? And for all that, how do you have to ensure? You can do it if as I said, there are many learning theories. I have only taken 2, and that's why I only refer to them. Help your consumer remember things. How will your consumer remember things? By revision, by repetition, by telling him, hey, this is the best decision you have taken, or by warning him that, listen, please don't do this. This is not correct, right? So by doing this, we can help our consumer learn about our product, brand, and service. And obviously, if you can help your consumer learn about the product, brand, and service, it's beneficial for all of us because he will then go ahead and buy your product at the right price, at the right place, with the right promotion. So let me come back to you and let me understand if there's anything which you haven't understood. Are we clear what we have discussed till now? Or is there any question or anything which you haven't understood? Or is there any example which you want to tell? Anything? You have the next 15-20 seconds to let me know. Yes or no? There has to be some answer.
It's clear, ma'am.
It's clear, Aditya? I hope it's clear to others also. I mean, if you...
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Thank you. With this, we will end this particular topic.